and plan for 1 billion shillings per year. How would our parishes look like? In rural Uganda, where the average population of a parish is about 5,000 people, every single Ugandan, including newly borns and the very old, would receive about 2 million shillings per person per year. I wanted to put that in context. The picture of Uganda is similar to most African countries. Yet Africa boasts of 40% of the world's gold reserves, 90% of the world's platinum and chromium reserves, 90% of the world's cobalt, 12% of the world's oil, 8% of the world's natural gas, 65% of the world's arable land, 10% of the world's internal renewable fresh water, and about 30% of the Earth's mineral resources. I could go on and on. That is how so well endowed Africa is. And that is according to the World Atlas website. Home to Uganda, Uganda alone boasts of 50% of the world's mountain gorillas and 15% of the world's bird species. Kalito Uganda, just like a dot on the world map, boasts of 15% of the world's bird species. And you know that there are so many bird watchers traveling all over the world, even where there are no birds, to see if they can find a bird. But Africa remains the poorest, despised, pitied, and most exploited continent. A lot of this can be attributed, can be traced to corruption. Some African countries, we celebrate them, have made strides in combating corruption with their corruption perception indices, as at 2024, fairly impressive. The Seychelles Corruption Perception Index at the last count was at 72%, the Cape Verde at 62%, Botswana at 57%, Rwanda at 57%, Tanzania at 41%, Kenya at 31%, and Uganda at 27%. So we use this day to salute those who have done fairly well and to call upon other African countries to garner resources, energy, commitment, and mindset that will see corruption stamped out of Uganda, out of Africa. In Uganda, new strategies have been developed and included among the traditional methods of dealing with corruption. One of them is deliberately taking the war to the people, calling for increased awareness of the cost and impact of corruption, calling for a mindset change from legitimizing and glorifying of corruption to joining the war against corruption. There is raised awareness among Ugandans that the public are the victims, are serious victims of corruption rather than passive observers, which was the case in the past. The population thought they were on the other side watching as corruption goes on in government, in the public sector, while they are largely passive observers. I'm glad to observe that now Ugandans have activated their awareness and their activism and their oversight over corruption, and we are going to intensify this. We see increased participation, accountability of their leaders. We are grateful His Excellency the President of Uganda, Museveni, who has repeatedly made a commitment that corruption will be stamped out of Uganda, and the First Lady, who also lit a new torch during her 77th birthday and declared a renewed war against corruption. Speaking for the Inspectorate of Government, the Inspectorate of Government has established 16 regional offices to carry out investigations of corruption in local governments under the Directorate of Anti-Corruption. And in 1 year alone, January and December 2024, a total of 2,218 corruption cases were investigated and concluded. The Inspectorate of Government also took administrative action against errant public officers, numbering 1,204 in ministries, departments, and agencies of government and local governments. Some of the administrative actions include, of course, people being interdicted, losing their jobs, and facing disciplinary action. A total of 13.3 billion shillings was recommended to be paid to persons as a result of the Inspectorate of Government intervention, and 3.3 billion was recommended to be paid to persons as a result of the IG of Books intervention. We have at least 16 public officers were recommended for prosecution in 1 year at the Anti-Corruption Division, while 37 officers were recommended for prosecution at the Leadership Code Tribunal for breaching the Leadership Code Act. A total of 1,204 public officers were recommended for administrative action for breach of trust. The Inspectorate of Government also got a conviction rate at the Anti-Corruption Court and 94.7% at the Leadership Code Tribunal.